Shalom, everyone. Welcome to our second lecture. Last night, we met you for the first time in the sections. I spoke with my colleagues, Rabbi Alona and Rabbi Josh, and they were very happy, and so was I, to meet you. They specified that you had a very good spirit and very good, everybody was engaged, and this is a very nice thing. It's good to see you. I was very happy to see at least some of the faces. I hope to see all of you very soon, and we continue with our journey. Today, our topic is Birkhot HaNehenin, the blessing over enjoyment, and Birkhot HaMazon, the grace after meal. And if we have some more time, we will delve into Birkhot HaShachar, the morning blessing. So now when we talk about Birkhot HaNehenin and the blessing that has to do with the food, we talk about what we call event-specific blessing or occasional blessings. It's not something like the blessings of the Shema that you have to say when you lie down and when you wake up, or the Amidah that is ascribed to be recited 3 times a day. Here, it is when you want to consume this apple, you have to say the specific blessing over it before you do. So it has to kind of help us to be attentive to the chesed that we have in this world. Blessing over food is something that is known in many cultures. It is a trans-cultural thing. We see it in different times, different eras, different geographical spaces and religious affiliations. And we also see it in the Bible. And I wanted to give you one example, but we will see it in a second. Let me just upload our PowerPoint. So the name of these blessings is Birkhot HaNehenin. Nehenim, lehenot, hanaa is enjoyment, pleasure. It ends with the letter nun instead of mem, maybe because it's the Aramaic formulation. Yeah, this is how we normally write it. What stands at the core of Birkhot HaNehenin is the understanding that life is good and enjoying is good. You don't need to afflict your soul only when designated time. It's good to eat good food and to consume good wine and to have pleasure, to have physical pleasure. We're not just intellectual beings. We're not just cognitive creatures. We are human beings, and we also take pleasure in eating good food and smelling nice fragrances, etc. But reciting these blessings over these enjoyment aspects, over things that we enjoy from, in a way elevate us from being like other creatures in this world, right? Animals eat too, right? They also drink, they also enjoy when something nice happens to them, but they don't, as far as we know at least, they don't say blessings, they don't thank for it. And this is our duty to do so. And in a way, that's what this acknowledgement, this is what separates us from other animals. And different people and different cultures do it differently. Let me specify the different types of Birkhot HaNehenin. So first of all, we have Birkhot HaTa'am, for things that we eat. And when you just say Birkhot HaNehenin without specifying, usually these are the blessings that we're talking about. And then we have blessing Birkhot HaReach over nice fragrances, that we have different types of fragrances. And then we have Birkat HaZman, which some people include within the Birkhot HaNehenin and some people not. Of course, I mean Shehechianu. Yesterday in my section, we said Birkat Shehechianu because I really felt that it was the right thing to do, to say Shehechianu here. So finally we meet together. Then we have Birkhot HaReya. When you see something that causes you joy or pleasure or enjoyment, you have a blessing that you have to specify, to say. And all these Birkhot HaReya are gathered in the last chapter of Tractate Brachot, the 9th chapter, which is also called Perek HaRoeh, the one who sees, all these occasional blessings that have to do with seeing. And then we have blessing over hearing good news, but also hearing bad news. And some people do not include them within Birkhot HaNehenin. We will talk today mostly about Birkhot HaNehenin that have to do with consuming food. And in a way, we find precedent for this kind of blessings already in our ancient sources. I want to give you one example from the first book of Samuel. And here we see Saul, who later became King Saul, was the first king of Israel. And he and his servants are going to look for Samuel, who is the seer. And they meet ne'arot, young women or girls, and they tell them where to find Samuel. And in a very indirect way, we learn about special ritual that has to do with food. As soon as you enter the town, you will find him, Samuel, before he goes up to the shrine to eat. The people will not eat until he comes, for he must first bless the sacrifice, and only then will the guests eat. Go up at once, for you will find him right away. So indirectly, we hear about some sort of ritual that was done in this shrine with the sacrificial meat. I think, in parentheses, I will tell you that I think King Saul would be better off without knowing Samuel, but that's a different story. Please follow with us the text in your chovot, in your source booklets. I saw that my section, at least, everybody printed them and bound them in different ways. Normally, we give you the chovot, but this year everything is different. So you can follow with us, and I really want to encourage you to write your little notes and to highlight and to write your questions, because as you see, we're not in a Q&A situation here, but we definitely are in a Q&A situation when we reach the sections. And another thing that I want to say to you is that it's very important for us that you read the secondary readings, the additional readings that we give you. We know that there is no perfect textbook for us found around. Or what we try to do is to give you, to let you taste, right? We're talking about blessing of taste, to taste different books and different writings about tefillah that were written in the Jewish world in the last decades. So you will find for today a chapter from Chaim Donin's book, To Pray as a Jew, and also from Entering Jewish Prayer by Reuven Hammer. Okay, I move along. The first text that I want us to consider is from the Babylonian Talmud and tractate Birkhot. And here we have, it begins with the words Tanu Rabbanan. Tanu Rabbanan means that this is a citation of an earlier authority. It doesn't give us the name, but it says Tanu Rabbanan, and we know that this is a beraita. This is a citation from Tanaitic source. The Tanaim were the sages of the Mishnah, and this is an authoritative statement here. So what the beraita, what is this citation tell us? אסור לו לאדם שיהנה מן העולם הזה בלא ברכה. וכל הנהנה מן העולם הזה בלא ברכה, מעל. It is forbidden. Yes, by the way, I'm reading in Hebrew because I want you to hear the original text. If the original text is not in Hebrew, then, sometimes we will read from the Christian Bible or from Josephus, where it's not originally written in Hebrew, and then I don't mind reading in English. But normally, if we can, and we have the English in front of us and also in your booklets, then I prefer to read in Hebrew. So it is forbidden for a person to enjoy anything from this world without reciting a blessing over it. And if a person does enjoy from it, if you consume this apple that we're talking about without reciting a blessing over it, this is a very serious transgression. This is a ma'al, this is a me'ilah, this is an embezzlement, or this is one commits a sacrilege because one consumes something that does not belong to them, right? I don't own this apple, it's not mine. And this is a very, very interesting statement that we have here, because the agricultural farmer can say, oh, I sowed the field, I grew the trees, I harvested the apples, they belong to me. No, says the rabbis, it does not belong to you. It belongs to heaven, it belongs to God. You have to do something in order for you to be able to consume it. Remember, in the wilderness, when in the 40 years of the sojourn of the Israelites in the wilderness, they were fed by God as if they were little babies, right? God gave us manna every day. They didn't have to work for him. It was very clear where the food comes from. But in the farmer situation, when we are on our land, this was the situation in the Tanaitic time, you can very easily say, I own this food, I grew it, it belongs to me, and it doesn't have to do with the divine. So here, the Talmud, in the name of this Braita, warns us from this. And it continues. אמר רב יהודה אמר שמואל, כל הנהנה מן העולם הזה בלא ברכה, כאילו נהנה מקודשי שמיים. If you enjoy from anything in this world without reciting a blessing over it, and I want to ask you to think about things that our tradition does not require us to say a bracha for, yeah? Every year there's someone who raises their hand and says, what about love and sexual intercourse? Why don't we have to say a bracha for that? It's an interesting thing to think about. But anyway, if you consume anything from this world without reciting a blessing over it, it is as if you enjoy things that are consecrated to heaven because they belong to God. Why? What is the proof text for this understanding? Uchtiv, le'Adonai haaretz umlo'a. The earth belongs to the eternal, and everything that fulfills it also belongs to the eternal. This is from Psalm 24. Psalm 24, by the way, is in the liturgy as the daily psalm of Sunday. Rabbi Levi Rami. Now we have a disagreement. This is a very normal thing in the Talmud. Disagreement. So Rabbi Levi, Rami is throw or contrast. Yeah. Another verse. You say, "Ktiv l'Adonai haaretz umlo'a." Right. This is true from Psalm 24. But it is also said, "Uchtiv hashamayim shamayim l'Adonai, ve'haaretz natan livnei adam." The heaven belongs to God, but they gave human beings the land. So we have a contradiction. Who's right? This psalm or this psalm? This is a contradiction of two sources of the same level of authority. Both of them are from the Ketuvim in the Bible, in the Tanakh. And the Gemara answers, La kashya. It's not difficult. There is no contradiction. Everything's okay. There is a harmony between these two ideas. Kan kodem bracha, kan leachar bracha. The first verse that speaks about the fact that everything in this world belongs to God is before one recites a blessing. And here it speaks about a situation where we recited the blessing and then we are allowed to consume this food. And think about it, it's very interesting, I think, to look at the blessing. We think about blessings as something that is holy, that is sacred, and it is something that is sacred. But in a way, we have a paradoxical situation here. Reciting a blessing over a food item, over this apple that we're talking about, in a way unlocks it from its holiness. Because before we say the blessing, it doesn't belong to us. Yes, it belongs to God. It belongs to heaven. Kodshei Shamayim. Yes? But once we say the blessing, in a way we make it secular. We make it available for us to consume. This is something that Christian friends of mine really find hard to understand, but I think it's something that is very nice. We have to ask for permission. We have to unlock the holy nature of what we want to consume in order to enjoy it. And how do we do it? By saying sacred words. This is the bracha. Now let's see the different brachot that we have in our tradition. So the first and foremost, we have the blessing over bread, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. You see, last time we spoke about different types of brachot. All these brachot, Birkhot HaNehenin, are always short brachot. They begin with Baruch, but they don't end with Baruch. So we thank God for hamotzi lechem min haaretz, to bring forth land from the bread from the land. Think about the words here, right? Because this is not what happens. God provide us with the grain, and we produce the food. But here, the credit for the whole process is given to God. So this is about food, about bread. The second blessing is Boreh Minei Mezonot, who creates various food items. And this is a blessing that we say when we consume cakes or pastries made by one of the 5 grains that are typical to the land of Israel. We will see them in a second. But it's not bread. And, you know, eating kosher always provide you with all kinds of opportunity to talk. You know, what is the blessing for this? What is the blessing for that? It depends how much sugar there is, how was it made. I'm not going there. This is this is for halacha class. We are here to deal with liturgy, but see how it keeps you on your toes. It keeps you asking questions all the time. What do I eat? What is it made of? And what is the special bracha that I have to say for it? The third blessing is Borei Pri Hagafen, that we see for the fruit of the vine, that is to say wine. And in a way, it kind of takes you to the nutritious world of our ancestors in the land of Israel. This is exactly the Mediterranean cuisine. What is it based on? Bread and wine, and then fruits and vegetables. What we don't have blessing for, that we will see in a second. So wine was a very important food item in the old Palestinian kitchen. The wine was diluted by water, but this is something that we will talk about maybe when we get to Shabbat. And then we have a blessing for the fruit of the tree, Borei Pri Ha'etz. You see, this is a hierarchy, because if you have a proper meal, you will probably eat bread. Maybe not to us, you know, Fit for Life and all these new diets don't necessarily encourage us to eat gluten and bread or whatever. But in the ancient economy, bread was the center of the meal. It wasn't a proper meal without a bread. So if you consume bread, you say a blessing for the bread, and it sort of exempts you from anything else except for hagafen, right? We're talking about blessings before eating. All right, so the fourth blessing is Pri Ha'etz, and then Pri Ha'adama, everything that grows in the ground. For example, potatoes, onions, the vegetables that we have. And I just want to say, maybe in the section we can get more into that. This is not exactly what you find in the Mishnah. In the Mishnah, you have a slightly different system, but this was what was consecrated throughout the generations. And then all the rest of the things, everything that is not mentioned here, you have another bracha saying, Shehakol niya bidvaro, that everything came to be in God's speech or according to God's will, right? So please look at this list, and I say it as a very proud vegetarian. We don't have special blessing for meat or for fish or for eggs or for milk products. All these things are included in Shehakol niya bidvaro, but they don't have specific blessing for them, and it can maybe tell you how often people did consume meat and fish and these foods. I move along, and I want to say, and I think we will conclude the first part of the lecture here, that we say blessing before eating, and we say a blessing after eating. And in a way, what we say after eating, and you have this table in your booklets, what we say after eating is informed by or decided upon what we said before our meal. So we have 3 types of blessings or liturgies. It's not just blessings, it's, liturgies that we say after eating, right? We sort of encase the meal or the eating process with things that we say before and after. After, we have 3 types of liturgies. One of them, the first one, is Birkhot HaMazon, grace after meal. And the grace after meal is the full and longest and most comprehensive text. It's not bracha, it's called Birkhot HaMazon, but actually it has 4 brachot. We will talk about it very soon. And then you have bracha achat me'ein shalosh, one blessing that represents 3 blessings. In a way, 3 in 1. Yes, that's the abridged form of grace. We will see it in a second. And that's if you, well, you will see it in a second. And then the shortest one is Boreh Nefashot Vechesronan, the creator of souls. This is a very, very short blessing. I don't know why we don't use it more often in our Tnuah, because it's so short and it's so beautiful. In a way, it's sort of it's a concise way of thanking for what we have consumed. And these are the different blessings that we say before. So if you ate bread, as we said, that a proper meal has to include bread, you would first wash your hands and then say the blessing over washing the hands, and then say Hamotzi lechem min haaretz, God who brings out bread from the land. Interestingly enough, in our movement, at least in the summer camps that I attended in North America, we say Hamotzi for everything. And this is a question, you know, how specific do you want to be for different blessings? And we have testimonies for people who said very specific blessings for different items they ate, or we want a more general thing. So Hamotzi is said when we eat bread. This is the minhag today, or the halacha today. And after a proper meal like this, you would say Birkat HaMazon. Now, if you ate Pri Ha'etz, the fruit of the tree, but not every fruit of the tree, going back to our dear apple, not this apple, only if you ate something of the 7 species from which the land of Israel was blessed. This is from Deuteronomy 8. We will get to this text in a second. If you consumed wine, or if you consumed a baked good or cooked good from the 5 grains from which the land of Israel was blessed. In these cases, you have the abridged Birkat HaMazon, and please notice that it's one blessing that sort of contains the ideas of the 3 blessings of Birkat HaMazon, but we just said that Birkat HaMazon has 4 blessings. Why do we have 3? Oh, we will get to it when we talk about Birkat HaMazon itself, but I just want to give you a hint that originally Birkat HaMazon, the grace after meal, contained 3 blessings, and the 4th one, which is a little bit different in its nature, was added later. And we will try to ask ourselves, why is that? And if you ate anything else, that is to say, anything that requires shehakol niya bidvaro, like fish, meat, eggs, milk products, or if you ate something that requires the blessing of Pri Ha'adama, or if you ate a fruit of the tree, but not a fruit of the tree that belongs to the 7 species, that is to say, not pomegranate, not date, not fig, then, and rice also, interesting enough. Sorry, right, let's put rice for a second aside. Then the blessing afterwards would be Boreh Nefashot, and you'll see the text in a second. With regard to rice, the blessing after it would be, the blessing before it would be Mezonot, Boreh Mine Mezonot. Let us conclude now the first part of the lecture. Please write down any questions that you have, and we will continue in a second.